Hello everyone, Talks episode brought to you by the Worcester Club, where today, as you can see on the screen, we are going through, possibly one of the top shelf articles of this year so far, especially from Pimlico Journal, although Pimlico Journal does do an awful lot of good work. Why I Am a Zionist, which from this panel we have people on opposite ends of the spectrum, I think it's fair to say. With a couple of people in the middle, because yes, for anyone who remotely follows either my channel or this channel, I'm very much on the side of Zia Yusuf is a goddamn hero, and Tharium's on the side of, well, how would you describe it?
You're a traitor. You're a traitor. You can go fuck yourself. That's what I'm on.
There you go.
Yep.
Cero, what's your position?
I am on. Yeah, I'm on whichever side Abby Shapiro is on, or is that the wrong kind of Zionist?
Well, I mean, I would imagine Abby Shapiro, being a real queen, would be on the side of Zia Yusuf. So that's my prediction.
Well, I'm an easy nut to crack in that case.
There you go.
But no, on a more serious note, I'm generally pretty cynical with my outlook, but at the same time, I like to imagine that I'm also reasonable, and I guess I'm probably closest to the neutral party in this conversation. I can kind of take it or leave it. I don't really care which vector I take as long as the country is fixed. So I guess in some respects I will be the one being convinced this evening, so this will be interesting.
There you go. All right. And Vicar Steadman, what's your position so far?
Well, I'd say I was quite skeptical to begin with of Reform, Farage, and Zia Yusuf especially. I've become more impressed with what Zia Yusuf has been saying and some of the stuff he's been doing. However, I'm not. I guess you could call me a growing de facto partisan of Reform. However, at the same time, my allegiances can easily change, just like they did with the Conservative Party, and how they've repeatedly betrayed the country. So I don't defend bullshit. I defend what I think is genuine.
Well, there you go.
And yet you claim you like Reform? Odd.
I think Vic and I are
Well,
in the same
it's a
boat on
case.
this one.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the sense of you could say, hey, Reform says a lot of good things if you want to sort of put a more cynical spin on it. But of course, they sort of say that stuff. However, it's like if you do want to attain power, unless something drastically changes in like the next 3 years, the only way you kind of have to get through that is kind of through Farage and Reform, in the sense of like, well, I see some people say they're the only game in town. It's like, well, isn't it better to sort of kind of put yourself in a position where you could exploit them messing up and them betraying the electorate, and then you can kind of use Reform as a vehicle to like actually sort of take power or whatever. That's just my thinking.
Kind of like Lowe effectively is trying to do with the Conservative Party. Or at least that's what it appears to be.
Yeah, and maybe something like that. But as opposed to like shutting out, like right now when you sort of have no power and sort of exposing yourself as like as a quote unquote untouchable, and you sort of leave yourself up to fate about whether like some political faction in the future might be able to touch you and might be able to gain success and so forth.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. But anyway, sorry, not to belabor the intro. Well, I've always said
anyone who says shutting out is just cope. You're just accepting defeat if that's your attitude.
Let's be real, that's your attitude, because everyone says you shut out all the time. Like, come on. Go on.
I speak truth. I speak truth, and they're just leftists who can't handle it.
Go on, Sarah.
I always take the view that if the right splits, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but if they fracture, then that's a terrible thing. So, I don't know.
Well,
yeah, but if the right just become the left, that's even worse.
But the thing is, that's what we've had already, so nothing has technically
changed. Yeah, that's the last 30 years. Go on.
And I understand, like, the whole point of the reason why we actually care this time around is because we don't want it to be like that again. We want this time to be
Yeah,
different.
that's why
we
I
want the
care.
third option.
That's why this angers me so much.
And that's why I don't actually I think that's why I'm actually very sympathetic to your perspective. Again, I think my cynicism is a slightly different flavor, but that's why I actually understand your position on this.
Well,
because it's like, yeah, the last thing we actually want is more of the same. So if there is a risk of that, then it should be called out. However, I guess my cynicism doesn't go as far as to think that that's necessarily exactly what they intend, even though that might effectively end up with it being what we get, which I don't know yet. So that's partly why I'm open. But anyway, let's carry on. Sorry, Aaron.
Well, on that note, let's go through what exactly Zionism is. So it is a political ideology and movement characterised by loyalty to the Reform UK politician Mohammed Zia Yusuf. So Mohammed...
That's so disgusting.
Zia...
That's so disgusting.
So,
I mean,
why? Go on. All right, go on.
Any direct loyalty to like any politician is just wrong. You shouldn't be doing it.
I am loyal to Thatcher
you
after
owe
her
nothing
death.
to these people.
I am
retarded.
I
you shouldn't be loyal to any of these people. They're not great people. They're scum who just want to exploit us.
I mean, this is true, but Trumpism has been a thing.
The Trump cultists. The Trump cultists.
Years or whatever.
They shouldn't be. And luckily, some of them are now seeing, oh yeah, Trump maybe isn't on our side. But there's still, I mean, he's still got his cultists, and they're wrong to be that.
I mean, like, I've got my MAGA.
Well, yeah, a lot of them
don't get me wrong.
go too far.
But, oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that, yeah, I guess I'm sort of a somewhat rehabilitated Trump cultist of my own. I've even got my MAGA hat. But, like, yeah, it's just, thinking that it would be this sort of a base tidal wave. It's kind of, even I've got to accept reality to some extent.
Yeah, Trump 2.0 especially has made me reconsider a few things about how things work. So,
I think it's I think it's fair to point out at this point that this article is quite tongue in cheek. I mean, it's written by it doesn't actually say. I know it does. It does at the bottom actually. It's written by an account called Bukes, who is online, who is kind of known for being a post-ironic, kind of semi-fascist, to be honest, Twitter account, and very much memes throughout. And so
I hear you can't be a semi-fascist these days. You kind of have to be completely alt-right, or
so when when it's going on about loyalty to Zia, it's not it's not saying that he can't do anything wrong. It's not literally meaning 100% loyalty.
So it's all a joke. And he's actually just mocking all of you.
No.
Like you handful of actual Zionists. I think that's what you said. He just said he's a fascist.
Yes, but and he really likes Zia Yusuf.
Well, he said semi-fascist.
Yeah, he really likes Zia Yusuf, like genuinely. I know this because
you could say, especially.
I know this because
of the door, right? Whatever.
Direct contact, let's say.
Okay, that explains it. Yeah. Again, me vindicated. Mohammed is an evil piece of shit.
Why is Mohammed evil?
We'll get into it.
Okay.
The night is young, lads.
Mohammed Zia Yusuf, mononymously why is that disgusting, Tharium? Tell me.
Why does he keep that disgusting name? Chinese immigrants, for example, you say he's integrated. No, he's not. Like, Chinese immigrants will often take Western names when they come here.
Right.
To actually try and fit in. They don't try and
sometimes.
Well, it's less so now because of leftists, but especially in the past, it would be like, oh, I am frank and sour. They were trying even to like take up our names. The Polish immigrants after the Second World War, we had a bunch of Polish immigrants. Many of them they anglicized their names.
Mohammed, however, a bit easier to anglicize.
I know, and that's closer. Mohammed, however, just doesn't bother because
it's the anglicization.
It's not.
The less syllables.
No, it's not.
Which is
Zionism is
no one calls him that.
Is not. It's not.
Why people call him Zia?
Anglicized name. Well, that's what it is. That's like someone saying anglicized. Zia is nothing. There's nothing English about Zia.
So what? So Ben Habib's real name is like his full name is Benjamin. It's not Benjamin. It's Benjamin, because that's a Pakistani name. So he's not done it either, despite the fact he's half English. Yeah, yeah. He's not called Benjamin. He's called Benjamin. So
I'm surprised because Benjamin's a Jewish name, so I'm surprised it's in Pakistan.
They probably have the same root.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the Abrahamic religions and all that.
And again, I'm not a big fan of Ben Habib either, so that doesn't work on me.
That's fine, but I've not heard you, let's say, crash out the same way.
Well,
that's all.
Yeah, I mean, he at least is half English.
Oh well,
don't connection to our people whatsoever.
Oh, I'll have you know he's a born and bred Scot. We'll get into that.
I will hurt you.
We'll wait. So he's simply known as Zia. Has in a short period of political activity.
Mohammed, call him his real name. Call him his real name, Mohammed.
No, he wants to go by Zia. I'll go by Zia.
Mohammed, no. His real name is Mohammed.
Should I call Ben Habib Benjamin all the time? Should I do that? No, I don't think so.
If you want to,
I'm going by Zia.
You want to?
Go on, Cero.
It's Mohammed.
I actually generally prefer to refer to like Chinese people by their Chinese name if they are comfortable with it.
Yeah, but
sometimes they like it, sometimes they prefer.
Yeah, but let's be fair,
just to point it out there.
Massive weeb. So.
Hey, I mean, weeb is Japanese, and that's a bit different. But I also used to speak a bit of Japanese as well. So.
What you're doing there is you're giving them some respect, but it's because they first were the ones who first showed respect to our culture by going, okay, I will try and fit in, and rather than some tricky name, they sort of go, oh, I'm Frank, so they are the ones who have first shown respect.
Do you have trouble saying Zia?
It's different with them, unlike Mohammed, who just doesn't give a shit. It's like, no, you will call me my name, my Muslim name. That's what he is.
He's a bit more nasal.
He said, "You shall call me Zia."
Yeah, that's foreign. What is Zia? There's no English name called Zia.
It's Kia.
Couldn't you argue that him adopting an Anglo-Celtic name would be like fraudulent because it's clearly not English, at least according to you? So
it's trying to
that.
Fit in.
Like, are you
like
advocating
I said, these Chinese immigrants, they try. He doesn't. None of these Muslims do. A lot of them in America did not like just wholesale become John Smiths or whatever, except from the like penalization of law, whatever. I mean, that's why there's a whole proliferation of like East Asian stereotypes and so forth, but they weren't called Frank. They were called Chinese names I've
media
spoken
and
to
actual accounts.
No, I've met proper.
There was definitely Anglicization, but it wasn't like completely universal. Like you could easily tell, especially with like, for example, Polish immigrants. It was like, yeah, your name is kind of still Polish. It's not like you're not become Frank Smith or.
It's the same with
It's like
no, they all of them try. It's the same with like Trump's grandfather. That's German, and he went from Trump to Trump because he wanted to just make it more anglicized. And that's German. I'm just not a huge jump.
I'm going to throw this out there. I really didn't want to spend 20 minutes of the stream talking about a name. I just don't care.
No, fair enough. Zia, apparently,
the name is important.
Fair enough. Zia is also you can find it in Latin or something.
Well, I'm not being funny, but
that's English.
I'm not being funny, but we're kind of missing...
the Romans conquered Britain. You can't ignore that history. Our history.
There's no Italian name.
The Romans are,
Half of our etymology is. Oh, sorry, carry on.
This is all cope and seethe. Like the guy grew up in Scotland. Everyone called him Zia. All the Scots did. Who cares? Like it's such a non-issue. So I'm not talking about names.
Tharium clearly cares. He's trying to defend the Anglo-Celtic race.
Good for him. Go on, Sarah.
The Latin is only about. I was going to say the Latin is only about half of our etymology. So we obviously have the Saxon root, which kind of goes back to the the basically classical English, and then you've got the Latin, which was brought in a lot later. So anyway, that's just a quick aside for anybody interested in chat.
Our nobles spoke French, our laws were written in Latin, and all the plebs spoke Middle English.
Mhm.
2-1. The plebs have won.
So-
The plebs convinced. Plebs shifted that. Saxons won in the end.
They actually kind of all just mangled together.
It did meld together.
Yeah, and intermarried.
Yeah, it was very integrated, if you ask me. Very good integration. For a man who
It's like
essentially,
how we've got cloth and
Look at the
garment.
harrowing. Look at the harrowing
oh
of the
my
North.
god!
There wasn't good integration.
Listen.
that wasn't-
To
we weren't
integrate
off to a very good start.
sometimes.
And
And you're talking
sometimes it
about
looks
10,000. You're talking about 10,000 Normans. That's
I
it.
was going to say it.
There was a limited genetic impact from the Norman invasions compared to the Saxon invasions.
Yeah, exactly. There was 10,000
more hypothetical
Normans.
Frankish movement between.
I'll admit, okay.
There was a limited impact.
Guillaume
genetically.
the Conqueror, or Guillaume the Bastard, William the Bastard, we didn't get off to the best start, okay? The Scouring of the North was not their finest hour.
Right, we are not right. If you want to do a Tosh Talks on the history of England and its nobles, please suggest it. This is not the stream for it. So,
Okay.
for a man who essentially spawned into being little over 1 year ago, with seemingly zero previously established connections, he continues to outshine not just his opponents in enemy parties, but detractors from his own side. Today, I proudly make the case for Zia being the most underappreciated politician in British history. What a great article. I gotta agree.
Disgusting. Wrong.
I declare myself a Zionist, a reform friend of Yusuf, a lobbyist for his cause, a cause of political revolution, and the regime change to follow. He is reform's greatest asset.
It will be all that into something rather more Islamic, I think.
Except
a lot more brown.
Except for, of course, the leader himself, Nigel Farage. What a great article. I gotta agree with us. I mean, obviously, we know mine and Tharium's position. Vic, any comment on that?
Well, I mean, it's not really different from what I said at the start. Well, Mohammed has made people seethe, and so that's kind of funny. I was going to say very quickly on the he's made you seethe. But look, I mean, I sympathize with Darren's position, but on the whole shutting out comment earlier, it's like, well, I'm living in an environment that's, let's say, very hostile, extremely hostile to centrist milquetoast politics, and I can't help but sometimes like shut out a little bit myself. Like I can't sort of like completely suppress my power levels. I make jokes, I make quips, and all this sort of stuff. But I do that in a kind of hopefully intelligent and witty way. You know, I'm known as like the sassy British man here because of basically no other British people. I'm quite unique in that way. But I've gained kind of just.
Which do you mind
in Australia?
Which actual region you are?
Australia, in a city centre. In a city, very in the city.
Oh,
yeah, that makes sense.
Queensland. No, I'm joking.
The Australians really have fallen, haven't they?
Well, certainly, these cities like are far more woke than like London or this one I'm in. It's like
that's bad.
It's just everywhere. It's like, you know, a stereotype of like California, like San Francisco or Los Angeles. It's just like your Twitter feeds of like woke this, woke that. But it's just real. Even London is like more sane. You can sort of go to a place and like you could just sort of imagine. You're kind of in the time 50 years ago, with just businessmen around, kind of. But this is just awful. But yeah, so basically my point is, I'm not saying you shouldn't have like quote unquote extreme positions. I'm not saying, or even expressing those, it's a good idea to actually try and push the window or whatever. And sometimes you have to be a bit radical, as it were, and not just all milquetoast. But I'd say you have to do it appropriately, and by chudding out in a bad sense, what I mean is like I don't know, just not doing the tax maybe, or sort of not being strategic about it. That's what I mean. I don't mean you've got to be all nice and like pleasant.
I agree with that.
Like agree with everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. It depends on the environment. Like you said, like when I'm with actual leftists, I sort of just you got to go for a more subtle approach. But when I'm not with the actual leftists, it's all out.
Yeah, well,
I have had some like the state that Australia. Oh, sorry, carry on.
So yeah, like I was just gonna say, like I've had even like with the trans stuff, like with actual leftists, I found what has worked well is just saying, everyone thinks this is nonsense, right? And that just sort of can break the spell with them.
Yeah, especially social proof. I think. Anyway, sorry. That's another derailment. I won't go on the psychology behind.
Good.
Why leftists tend to prefer social proof.
Good. Well, we'll carry on.
I'm good.
No, you are being good. I'm not having to whip you into shape. So, when Zia was first announced as Reform UK party chairman, I shrugged him off as another racism accusation deflector shield, a convenient token figurehead that I had to assume was personal friends with Nigel and so could be trusted to be loyal to both Nigel and the cause. I'd seen Nigel pull such stunts before, least subtle of all being the time he gathered as many of his BAME UKIP council candidates as he could into one room. That happened back in like 2011 or something.
That was terrible. That was awful.
Why would he say BAME?
Well, because it's just a shorthand for a load of ethnic minorities.
When I come to power, it's going to be banned.
I don't know.
Good.
Based.
All right, fair. I mean, I'll take that. That's fine.
And so will they.
In the immediate aftermath of Zia's appointment, I was glad to see most flippant, snarky, and bigoted cross-sections of the right decry to some kind of malevolent Kitman plot on Zia's part that Nigel was being fooled into giving way to. It was at least filtering out scoffing armchair racists that couldn't stomach backing a party with a brown chairman, so Reform was already getting some organic quality control by his mere presence.
Oh, for God's sake! Like, this is such a joke. Like, do the ADL, not the ADL, the AFD, do they have any Muslims? No. Does Swedish Democrats?
But they're not.
None of the actual serious parties have Muslims in them, because why would you? They're enemies.
I don't think Muslims as a whole are enemies.
They are.
I've never thought that.
This is why we're so screwed up.
What do you mean?
I mean, I blame Blair personally.
They're clearly enemies. They all are enemies. They make that clear every day.
How's Zia made that clear?
Look, he's working towards. Look at how he's.
Layla?
Look at the influence he's having on Reform. He's just filling it full of all his packy mates. Like, they're the ones donating. They're the ones who are backing it.
They've had one.
No, they've had multiple.
Who's the other one? I know one was an ex.
I don't know their names. They're packy names. I can't remember them. But yeah, that's the donors that he's courting. It's all the Muslims.
Amazingly, I'm unconvinced. The high profile one they got was Nick Candy. So again, not a Muslim.
No. No, there's more. There's there was a recent one.
What's his name? Nick Candy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was
I am craving some pick and mix. Carry on.
There's like, well, all right. If he was packing it full of Muslims and whatever, why are all the candidates put forward for the board who have been voted
I can't believe
on
you fell for
white?
that. I can't believe you have no comprehension of guile. Okay, so you give the base, who 93% think that Muslims have no place in Britain. You give the base this choice, and all of these people have of course been whipped into making sure they've been screened, so they're going to be whipped. Make sure they're not going to kick up any fuss. And secondly, even if they were good, they're going to be outnumbered by whoever Mohammed sticks in personally.
You have an incredible insight into a board that we're not even sure what it's made up of. That's incredible.
Yeah, because I can see how my gut says how this is going. Like, it's so obvious that it's all guile.
I would reference everyone back to the paragraph we just read.
You stick me on the border of Reform. What am I going to be able to do? Like, nothing, because I'll be outnumbered by Mohammed's mates.
Well, who else of Mohammed's mates are on the board?
I don't know, but they're doing
I don't know. You tell me. You apparently know so much about it.
You don't know either.
Yeah,
you
correct.
Don't know either. But you're going.
Yeah, correct. I'm not pretending I do.
But
like
you claim.
Are.
No. But then you claim, oh, look at the candidates that we were allowed to vote on.
Yeah.
And so and then you take that and say, look at how white the board is. Well, it's not going to be the case, is it?
What do you mean it's not going to be the case? It already is.
It's not.
Okay.
It's going to be Mohammed's mates, and these people have all been whipped to make sure that they will never backtalk or go against Mohammed.
Cero, Vic, you convinced by any of this?
I'm more worried about the Bushes.
Well, oh, you guys.
More worried about
Sorry,
them.
no, that was it.
Well, you know what? In all political parties, in Britain especially, really with the people to not actively like, I don't know, sort of be hostile to their like cabinet. I guess like specific members, yes, they do. Like I've seen Reform councillors post about Tommy Robertson in support of him, but like I don't know, not to open the can of worms low this early on, but like I get the idea of free speech, but also it's not exactly a radical innovation in British politics for your sort of senior members of the party to be told, look, you've got to sing from the same song sheet. You can't just go mad and go, actually, I despise these people and expect to sort of keep your position. And I mean, you know, it's a kind of perspective of like, I like a lot of what Zia is saying more and more, but again, I really do have to emphasize the point that like Genrick said a lot of things that were really cool
Exactly.
and I like them, but then it turned out he was, you know, the Afghan like refugee quote unquote scandal happened. So look, it's a kind of thing of course I can like get on board, but I'm of the opinion that it's like, well, isn't it better to sort of get on board and try to, you know, be in positions of power? So if there is a betrayal, then you can like actually exploit that rather than just sort of sit in your sort of room and go, oh, this is terrible. Oh, the West has fallen. When you could actually do something about it to like capture a movement. Because I think just doing on research on the AFD, like apparently to begin with, they were more milquetoast and then they became more populist and right wing. And so I imagine that could only have happened because people were there waiting on the sidelines to like change it. And that's no comment on whether the AFD is like brilliant or like is good, but with some flaws.
Well,
but yeah, that's
the perfect example is Corbyn. He was out canvassing for Blair and Brown, and then took it over 10 years later. So there you go.
Yeah, and went nowhere.
Well, that's because of macro factors of like he didn't use the initiative to like, I don't know, quote unquote moderate his tone, but like still promise like left populism.
It's because communism has never been popular in Britain. That's why.
Yeah, but we're talking. He got as far as he could within the party. Yeah, like, that's the point. Like you can only get so far.
And like, had he sort of moderated a little bit more, like Blair did, you know, he had a actual history of being on the left of the party, and then in the early 80s, he suddenly switched to being a moderate. Like he did a convincing switch. Then he could like actually take power and change Labour's image, and we all know that story. But yeah, if Corbyn had been a little bit smarter earlier on, then you know he could have been within striking distance of power, like more so than you were in 2017.
I mean, the point to make is, yeah, you can change the party when there's a disaster within it, but you need to actually establish it first, which is what's happening with Reform.
Well, these are established parties. Reform doesn't have that. You know, there's a benefit to taking over Labour or the Tories, given all the infrastructure they had, which Reform does not. So Reform doesn't have that. There's like taking over Reform doesn't have the same benefit as it would have taking over Labour or Tories.
Well, yes, but
or even Lib Dems.
Yes,
even Lib Dems.
Yeah, that is why you let Reform become the basically establishment party.
No.
Okay, don't then. Whatever. I still thought very little of what contribution he could give to the party. For a long period of time, up until what was called the Farage-Lowe feud, he was just the butt of some very repetitive jokes on my part, making fun of his strange attempt when he would give speeches to imitate JFK's cadence. Beneath the caricature of a malevolent ex-Goldman Sachs employee is a highly competent individual who is singularly invested in changing politics for good. The more interesting
for evil, not for good, for evil.
The more interesting parts of his past are often overlooked, being the son of a socialist paediatrician, being someone who's protested the Iraq War, and being someone who supported Barack Obama in 2008. Oddly, it actually gives me great comfort to know that he has arrived at a form of right-wing radicalism which is ideologically separate from the political routes most London-based figures take their inspiration from.
Or is he full of shit? I wonder.
Isn't that most like young people in the right wing movement though, who like I'm sure most of them were like actual genuine leftists, and you see this on Dorker as well. Like some of them avowed communists. It's like most, especially on the younger end. I'm not saying Zia is in the younger end, but like most of us on the younger end were like left wing to a certain extent.
I think nobody believes Zia. Zia doesn't have any. Like nobody believes what he says. When you say most people don't.
You are confusing everyone with I again.
Any comments on like any like videos he puts out? There's always comments going, "I don't trust this piece of shit."
Wow, on Twitter, crazy. Yeah,
no, he's not believable. You can tell it. You can tell. You can usually tell when people are lying, and there's nothing genuine about his attitude towards anything. He's like He's remembered a few talking points and he sort of repeats them, and you can't believe him with just soulless dead eyes. You know, he's not genuine at all, and you can feel that. I take
a look at his like. I take a look at the TikTok. His TikTok, he's incredible. He is actually very popular there in the comments. From what I see, so
his social media growth has been it hasn't happened despite him pushing himself everywhere. He pushes himself everywhere, but no one's interested in following what he has to say because everyone can see he's just a lying scumbag. That's why.
You've confused everyone and I again. Oddly, it actually gives me great comfort to know that I read that. Zia was never a partisan Tory, a fact which should warrant many more people trusting his intentions and aims over many other familiar faces that like to swirl about. Again, I think when he's talking about London-based figures, I think he's talking about the Connor Tomlinson types. Charlie Downs, Harrison Pitt, New Culture Forum. Those that are all in that little clique who end up on each other's podcasts and things like that. I think that's who he's having a go at there. So yeah, I mean, our mediating voices, Cero, anything to add? You can say no, just you're taking it in.
No, I'm just pondering it over. I think that, like, for me, anyone on the Discord knows that one of the most pressing things recently that is obviously a big deal for me was the Online Safety Act, quote unquote, online safety, quote unquote. And so far, the only voice I've seen from sort of because to be fair, at this point, I discount basically anything from the Conservative Party. And so far, I didn't even see Farage mention anything regarding it, but I did see Zia mention something about it. And for that, I'm actually personally quite thankful. Whether they end up doing anything about it, that's a completely different thing. But the fact that he was the only one that mentioned something.
But everything he says is a lie, which is the problem.
But he said something. And that's more than most people, including other people in Reform. And that I can't
well, he's the only one you hear from in Reform. Mostly. He's like 90% of Reform airtime. Because he's just desperate to push himself in.
No, I don't agree with that. Tice was on.
He's sodding everywhere. You can't get away from the scumbag.
Tice interviewed constantly. Poaching's in quite a few places. The person I think you hear Lee's from actually is Lee Anderson. Which I think he does that because he mostly works doing the real life stuff with the branches. But no, Tice's on quite a lot. Farage's obviously around quite a bit as well on interviews. Poaching's got like a new 3 interviews every day or something like that. Poaching's everywhere.
There was the Women for Reform thing recently as well.
Yeah, that's the current thing as well. Oh, Layla Cunningham's in quite a few places as well. He has undoubtedly professionalised the party, the primary task he was given, and has been able to build Reform's capacity to meet the growing dissatisfaction with the establishment parties that the electorate has. If he has ruffled a few feathers...
See, he throws that out. He just says that. That means nothing. He's professionalised the party. What does that mean? It's just
400 branches.
That means nothing.
400 branches, official campaigns, central funding.
They were set up. Made. A lot of these have been set up before him, and then he comes along and
That's not
purges
true.
them
That's not
because
true
they
at
weren't
all.
loyal to him.
That's not true at all. They had about they did not have 400 branches. They had about 10.
But a lot had been set up before him.
That's why basically everyone had to. That's not true. Everyone had to. Basically, every candidate had to go out and fund their own campaign, and if they didn't, it'd just be standard reform. Vote for your local reform candidate. It wouldn't be anything specific. That's why everyone had to fund their own campaign, and why Rupert Lowe goes on about it. And Ben Habib is like, "Oh, I funded my own campaign." It's like because everyone had to, because they didn't have a central office properly, because it was a skeleton crew, a complete skeleton crew from effectively 100% Tice's funding until obviously Farage stepped in, but he stepped in relatively late where they couldn't get anything ready because they didn't know that the election was going to be early. That's not true. They barely had any branches, and now that they've got them, they've got a centralised system as well, centralised bank accounts for all these branches. It's done loads, absolutely.
I also don't know. I also don't think Mohammed did all this. I think there's no other people involved.
This is the same logic as
Mohammed
people
will, of course, claim credit for it.
Oh well, did Elon Musk launch rockets? Did he catch a rocket from space? Did Elon Musk do that? Was it a load of other people?
Yeah, but he actually did set this up. I don't think Mohammed's done anything. I've not seen proof that Mohammed's actually
unbelievable cope. If he has ruffled a few feathers in the process of doing so, or is hard to work with, so what? I think that's
yeah. Everyone despises him. No, everyone who meets him despises him. Yeah, they do.
I suppose if you ignore
when I say everyone, I'm of course not being absolute in that. I'm talking about 98%. Talking about 98%. There is like the 2% of cultist freaks and his Muslim buddies who like him. But
so you think all the councillors, all the MPs, everyone who was coming out saying, "Oh, sad to see Zia go for the 2 days he left," whatever. That's only 2% of people, or yeah. Mad.
Like I think. Aaron Banks is a lot more accurate when he said there will be champagne corks popping. That was the truth of it. That was the truth of it. Everyone else had been ordered. Look, show unity, show loyalty. Don't make it look like we're sort of there's any infighting. That's what that was. That's all it was. It was all just an act. Everyone hates him.
So why is Aaron Banks still working with him at Doge then?
Because he's stuck with him. Because Mohammed is the one who owns the party and runs the party.
He's not even chairman. What do you mean?
Oh, it's clearly his party. He's the one calling all the shots.
Go on, Sarah.
Well, so far the shots have been pretty good. So I mean, and
it's all been it's all been bullshit. It's like Labour. It's like Keir Starmer saying he's going to deport all illegal immigrants. Oh, great! No one believes it. It's the same thing.
And the result of that has been Labour's, opinion polling has crashed. Labour is also headed into like the extinction zone of the low 20s in approval. And like this is the closest chance we have to like destroying the Uni Party or rendering them obsolete. And reform, they could waste it. And guess what? If you're in the sidelines, you can take advantage of that. You can't do that if you confine yourself to like your room, and you're going like, I love Ben Habib and I love his move. I know you said you're not hot on Ben Habib, but a lot of the Dorkery for some reason are. And then you attach yourself to a premature movement that self-sabotages and gets nowhere and fizzles out like the independent Labour types of the 70s or whatever. If you fizzle out early and everyone looks at you as a joke, you can't do anything except by the grace of like some other more competent person who comes along later. But that's wishful thinking. So
the thing is,
as opposed to standing on the sidelines, supporting a movement, which is the closest you have to success. And if they betray you, you can grab them by the collar and show them to the crowd and say, look, they said X, Y, and Z clearly, and they betrayed you. And then you can dispense with them.
But I'd say Reform doesn't have that luxury because unlike the Tories and Labour, who are just part of the furniture, if Reform get into power and when they inevitably betray us, that's them just completely finished. They're not, because of how new they are, they're not a party that could ever be salvaged.
I mean, if they actually do
that would just be it. Yeah, there's no getting back from. There's no wrestling it back. They'll just be finished forever.
People's opinions have solidified behind the idea that Reform is not just a protest party anymore. Like
no.
compared to
it is just a protest party. That is where most of their votes come from.
That's an increasing minority of British people.
if they,
I
if
mean,
they
plus,
actually do. Oh, sorry,
sorry, I was going to say, plus the polls, they never count for all the people like me who are just not bothering any of this.
Well, at best, it's like 10% of people. Like, don't forget the
it's
sort
a
of
lot of
left-wing,
people.
people that might be left out.
I mean, I've got no problem with this article. I agree with all of it so far.
You're a cultist.
Well,
yeah.
I was going to look. I'm going to say, in fairness, I also do view like when it's like Zia professionalized the party. It's like, well, at least Harry has provided some examples, but like obviously, it does, especially months ago, did come across as kind of like this thing sort of happened. This thing happened. It's like, and then you give kind of a couple of vague examples, and then it's like Zia did it,
Mohammed,
and so I've not been,
it's
I'm not being
crap,
100% satisfied with. Look, I can understand intuitively that the reform didn't have a lot of ground game for the general election. Like in my area, it was like there was basically no one. There was just a website, and then for the locals, there were at least some people sort of going around delivering leaflets. I saw more of that, but and look, if I had more evidence that Zia did it, then it's like, well, but that's why I got involved. That's why I was like, oh, I'm actually seeing people out and about. But yeah, so. But the point is like, yeah, maybe Zia did it, maybe he didn't do that. I'm willing to hear both. So I'm neutral on that issue.
I don't know why it's not good enough for basically every councillor to give him credit for it. It's like, yeah, Zia helped us set up.
Because they've been told he's the
branch
king.
leaders have said
they've got to pay they've got to lick his ass because he's the king. That's why. And anyone who dares have any problem with Mohammed and what he wants gets purged. They all know that.
A lot of them just left. The only person really that got purged was Rupert Lowe. Like that's the main argument for that. Everyone else kind of left of their own volition. Ben Habib left. Howard Cox left. Can't remember any of the other high-profile ones, but quite a few people left.
I think there was a forced leave. That common tactic in all sorts of things. Wow. And they could tell. They could tell. Okay, like me. Like I'm never joining Reform because I'm clearly not wanted.
Well, I mean, the amount you're going on about the man's race and religion, yeah, I can understand that. Anyway,
the popular position. You mean I hold the popular position with the British people? Yes, I do.
That is so popular that Reform are winning with Mohammed being the king of it. Apparently, with
people don't know. People don't know. People don't know about him, and it's the only the Reform's popularity is all based on a protest. Like, well, you're not Labour or Tories. That's it.
I will actually give that if I wasn't in conversations with, for example, you guys, the Discord, Harren's videos, I wouldn't actually know who Zia was. But then...
Well, how often are you watching Sky News, BBC News, GB News? Well, exactly. Like, he's on there quite a lot and always, like,
they're not watched by a lot of people.
So what I'm saying
really
is
not.
My entire, and I mean that like this also probably just reflects badly as me. But for example, I don't really know anything about Richard Tice either. I don't really know much about it. The only thing I know about it is that since Farage joined, they became more popular, and that all of the effort that went from that was mostly momentum from Brexit. That's kind of the perspective that I've got on it. The whole inner workings of it, like I didn't know Richard Lowe. I didn't really know much about Richard Lowe until he got kicked out.
Did you do that on purpose?
What?
Roberto Lowe.
Rupert Lowe.
No. Oh,
oh,
now you got confused because you got confused because you just said Richard Tice.
Oh, my bad. Okay. I didn't do that on purpose. I in my head, I actually thought it was. I thought I said Rupert.
That makes it funnier. Don't worry. Anyway.
Oh no.
But
yeah, that's kind of just the perspective I've got on it.
No, it's. I mean, God, like people don't even know most people don't know who the Prime Minister is. I wouldn't worry about it. Just last May, Reform was able to stand in nearly all 1,600 council seats up for election, and more than any other party, a feat which many outside the party doubted was even possible. The subsequent results achieved for Reform were surely also, at least in part, Zia's handiwork. Without him, Reform would not be leading in the opinion polls, but instead struggling at a plateau of its own inadequacy, failing to
absolute nonsense.
convince enough
Like to think Mohammed is
to be fair.
driving. To think Mohammed is driving the polls. Like, come on, what absolute crap. You're such liars in like Reform cultists. No one is more dishonest.
Tharium. The whole time you've said Zia's the king, driving the party, and now we're giving him the opinion poll thing. All of a sudden, he's doing nothing. Pick a lane,
but it's not.
Please.
No, but it's because people are voting out of protest. But it's his party, and people don't even realise that what Reform actually is.
Yeah, they do.
They don't. They know it's not Labour or Tories.
I went through a vox pop today of the people outside the Canary Wharf thing. There was one guy that was like, "Oh, I don't know if Reform's even going to deport the people because of the fucking Steve Edgington cope," and then everyone else was saying, "Oh yeah, Reform are like going to deport these people." So obviously that's
yeah, right.
Yeah, well, they know the policy. So
he had a similar perspective to me, actually. I think because it was a good video, actually.
Thank you.
But he has a similar perspective to me, which is that I just don't know. I'm going to err on the side of not sort of front loading my expectations, but at the same time, he also might. So he might do everything that he says that he's going to say, but I'm dubious about. Number one, is he actually able to? And number two, is that entirely what he wants to do?
Well,
those are, I think that was a similar thing.
Well,
sorry, go on.
I will say I'm seeing a number of articles from, like, one was in the Express, I think one was in the Spectator, effectively saying you can't really say that Reform doesn't have a policy platform anymore. They're just a protest vote and they're not serious because of all these,
People don't know what their policy is. It's just a protest.
I'm sorry.
How many people read the manifestos at election times?
Oh no, one. That's why typically you have 5 to 7 main points that you make. Yeah, you're right. They don't read the detail. That doesn't matter. But what you do know is that Reform, as they
every party.
Yeah, as they're going on for about 3 weeks, is like crime's rampant. Will open a load of prisons, send the worst people to El Salvador, and deport foreign criminals. So people know that they're going to be tough on crime.
That's kind of more the thing that I was actually concerned at. It's not necessarily that I don't think that they have a goodwill. I'm more worried that they won't. Well, I'm saying that I'm not really that concerned about that personally. My concern is more that they'll get in, they'll actually try, and they won't be able to for some reason. That's the thing that I'm more terrified about. Be that deep state or various other things.
Well, in that case, you can legitimately say there's no political solution. So get ready for that, I suppose.
Oh no. But I don't want that.
Yeah, I know no one does.
I that's partly why I don't want to fully front load my expectations, but I don't have personally any other eggs or any other basket to put my eggs in. So
that's good. That's kind good enough. That's good enough for me.
I try to be reasonable.
Yes, that's fine. The preference cascade, the inflection point that Zia himself likes to mention, may never have happened. The country is restless enough for Reform's popularity to be limited only by its own weaknesses rather than any other factor. It's been dealt a perfect hand otherwise. Zia is undeniably a radical who is willing to champion policies that he believes are correct, regardless of the rosette colour you could pin on them. He represents the personification of a pragmatic nationalism which many of us have been desperately waiting for. Finally, we have someone able to effectively and eloquently articulate the problems afflicting the country in a way that is above the GB News talking points and timeline nip. This is a man who understands that Reform's primary appeal to the electorate is not as a Tory understands the not as a Tory reboot, but as a new third-party, authentically populist alternative. For Zia Yusuf, Reform is neither left nor right, and Zia is working to keep it that way against the crashing tide of the reactionary seethe.
That worries me a little bit. because neither left nor right for me is Lib Dem, and Lib Dem is basically commies as
Well,
far
no,
as I'm concerned.
that's centrist.
So,
No, that's
it's Islamic.
Oh, for God's
That's
sake!
what it is. It's Islamic.
It's not neither left nor right as in centrist. It's neither left nor right as in those are labels that don't really mean anything anymore because
Okay, fair.
Well, I don't know. It's a centrism that's like different of a different breed from.
It's a
Lib
centrism
Dems
that's
and
it's a
New
centrism that's
Labour.
meant. It's a centrism that's made to appeal to Muslims. It's like dropping the child.
nationalisation of British steel. Does that appeal to Muslims?
Don't know.
It's like dropping the child benefit limit. That's purely aimed at buying Muslim votes. Not banning halal or the burqa.
It's not. Hang on.
His little thing about
he'd
that
ban the
silly
burqa.
Britannia card. That silly Britannia card.
That affects mostly Europeans. What are you talking about? These are all terrible examples.
Yeah, but it's because he wants to get in more of his Muslim buddies. That's what that's for.
I'm still slightly more worried about the commies, but then that's just me. I feel like I feel like the way that Tharium feels about the Middle East is kind of how I feel about the commies. I'm just so maybe that's partly why I can sort of somewhat empathize.
Ironically,
yeah. Sorry.
No, I just like every example there was just awful. Like, firstly, for the two-child benefit cap. You only actually get that if both parents are working. Guess which families don't have both parents working? Also, they're for British nationals only. Oh, great.
Yeah, we know what Reform's policy on British national means. They think Mohammed is more British than I am, so fuck them.
Who said that?
But if it only applies to those with parents that both of them have to work, then surely the British nationals that disproportionately, quote unquote, British nationals, if you will, the ones that disproportionately don't work or have only one working parent, then they won't get the no cap, right? Isn't that
no cap?
Then
no.
So in a way that will cause the leftists to see, they'll be like, no, you're actually discriminating, and the Guardian will write a piece about how this actually impacts the Muslims and this is so bad and terrible. Ugh. Isn't that what you would want, Tharium?
That's not going to be it.
Obviously,
the Muslims are going to be the Muslims are going to be the main benefits of that because they're the ones with all the kids. How many British people have 8 kids? What, like 0.0001%?
Not enough, but that's partly on them as well. It's like there are structural issues that have led to declining fertility rate, but it's also just have more children. It's the meme of white supremacists when they're told to save the white race, they have to have more kids.
I can't stand that. Yeah,
they just slink away.
Just trying to outbreed the Indians is just stupid attitude from them.
Also, the fact that I would technically be contributing towards the foreign. It is one of those funny things, though.
How dare you?
Well, I technically would be. I mean, I know that it's ironic, but it's something that I do giggle about. But anyway, yeah, sorry, let's carry on before I derail again.
It's okay. Personally, I like that he has zero reservations in championing China's success, regardless of any other misgivings. You what?
I have a lot of reservations about that.
I mean, sometimes Reform does, and I think excuse me, they do say things especially with the recent the trans thing, they do say things which are a bit okay, if you're going to be more of a well-oiled machine, you probably shouldn't be saying this stuff. It is minor, it always turns out to be minor in the sense of it doesn't really affect Reform's course, but it's a bit could I tolerate his growing pains? Yeah, could I tolerate his not everyone's perfect? Yeah, sure, but understandably, some people have become they have a short fuse and a low tolerance for politicians saying dumb things when it's quite easy to not say dumb things. I'm not going to discount Harry's position entirely.
What you're seeing there with stuff like that's the truth slipping out. These little bits of these just stupid things. Whenever politicians say something really stupid, that's the truth slipping out. not the carefully managed position.
So,
I mean,
but to be fair, the Dork right loves China, so
I mean, like,
China's
like
had
you were saying
successes,
about,
though.
like Cero, your thing about the Online Safety Act. Do you think someone who praises China, what do you think? You think they're going to be all free speech? I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
it's something I worry about.
I mean, let's be real. When he was when he was complaining about the Online Safety Act, he said it was like Chinese censorship, implying he doesn't want that. When he's talking about China's successes, he's talking about China's economically in terms of it industrializing and well, it's a first world economy now because it's done quite a few good things in largely pushing industry and.
I was going to say
I wouldn't call it first world yet, but
there's first world,
but like that's to be expected. Yeah, well, that's to be like you'd expect that out of countries where they've had decades to like copy countries that really industrialized, like kind of with the Soviet Union, eventually Russia. It's like countries that didn't do that quickly. That's because they self-sabotage. So I'm not saying there's no credit, but it's sort of like, this is kind of expected. It's like when cultures moved to the Neolithic from the Paleolithic, after a neighbor already did so. It's that's just going to happen.
The link's a whole conference speech, so I don't know exactly what he was praising. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's nothing that Zia's said that's made me think he's a communist. So yeah,
his background.
What do you mean his background? What, his mum and dad are in the NHS?
His family, his working for Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, the famous communist.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, globalists, and that would be
yeah, exactly.
I'll give you. Well, yeah.
Globalists a bit different, but then
it's like communism doesn't like it's like the modern terms of like they're not what they used to be. Like communist doesn't just mean like people don't say communist just meaning like a follower of Marx. It's that general globo homo shit. It tends to get lumped in. That
was a big issue with the right in America. I agree.
The way I describe it is that there are globalists, which I hate. There are communists I hate, and then there are globalist communists who I really hate. So
there you go.
That's kind of the easy way that I describe it.
Yeah. Using right-wing arguments to justify populist and popular policies that are traditionally thought of as left-wing is another politically effective aspect of Zionist project, and one that was clearly shown in Zia's appearance on GB News, in which he called for full nationalisation of the water industry. The government, they seem woefully inadequate, and the things they currently do. Zia, and we are, and what are the private sector doing in terms, obviously, of Thames Water? Which, to be fair, I think everyone on the panel would rather it be nationalised than working as it is now. Without being dragged too deeply into,
I find statements like that cringe, but I can understand the value of it because the British public love nationalising utilities and so forth. So. Again, it's one of those things where I criticize, but I'm not going to go, whoa! I sort of recognize that you have to work within, for now at least, the framework of everyone loves nationalization.
Yes. Without being dragged too deeply into the weeds of a dispute long past, I still think it's worth remembering the real cause of the Farage-Lowe feud and what it says about both Lowe and Yusuf. In the first week of March this year, Rupert Lowe publicly stated three things which, in my view, warranted removal of the whip and ejection from the party. One, he teased the idea of being the leader of Reform rather than Nigel Farage. Two, he is unable to promote Nigel Farage's leadership of one which would be successful should he enter 10 Downing Street, even claiming he was merely a Masonic figure. And three, perhaps most importantly, he rejected Reform's official policy of no electoral pacts with the Tory party and endorsed the supposed necessity of doing so in order to get Labour out. And
all true.
Yeah, he did say all that. And they were stupid things to say. They were remarkably poor judgment to say all those publicly. My God. It was from...
Yeah, it's only strategically.
It was from this interview that the Daily Mail's Andrew Pearce and other preceding events behind closed doors which triggered Zia to throw Yusuf Lowe completely under the bus. The bottom line is that Zia is not some Reform Mandarin secretly controlling the party, licking his lips
Rubbish.
At any opportunity to grow his own power.
Obvious nonsense.
He was appointed by Farage as a loyalist towards Farage's aims. In the Farage-Lowe feud, it was Zia defending the party's interests against an insubordinate Lowe, whose primary aim was self-aggrandisement. It is Zia who has been calling for the destruction of the Tory party and their former ministers to be in jail compared to Lowe's politically adulterous predilections.
I mean, my Marvel knowledge is a bit rusty, but wasn't the Mandarin actually also just a front? Spoilers.
I don't know.
Well, that was from, if you're thinking about Marvel, that was only in Iron Man 3 of the MCU. Well, I think originally in the comics,
okay, it wasn't part of the original.
the Mandarin was
Okay,
a bad guy. That's
Right,
why
okay,
all the fans were like so upset with Iron Man 3.
I didn't even
I
know
was a
that
bit
was a
confused about
Marvel
that, yeah.
reference. Yeah.
Well, and that
But yeah,
Iron
Mandarin
Man-
here just means the more like 1920s
right, okay.
archetype, stereotype. Like, assume that, or even earlier, like just Mandarins of ancient China. Rather. I don't think it means the Marvel villain.
Yeah. it's like the Marvel version of what was it like with Harry Potter? Just read another book. Just
Yeah, I
except
don't.
in my case, it's read a book.
I don't think Pimlico. I don't think Pimlico were making a Marvel reference there. Amazingly. Should
Yeah,
just uncultured swine. No, I'm joking. I'm not allowed to say swine.
So, should Zia have reported him to the police for unrelated threats of physical violence? I can't help but feel Nigel secretly approved of doing so, and let Zia be the one to act and take the blame.
Yeah. Obvious lie that.
Well,
we know that was a lie. We know that was a lie. Stop lying. Like you say, oh, there was evidence. What evidence?
Vic, I need you as my legal advice.
What evidence was there? What evidence was there?
What evidence? The evidence the police gathered.
Oh, and what evidence was that? Was that just?
I don't know. It's in the CPS's folders.
Is that just one of our precious, dear, precious Muslims said a white man made him feel uncomfortable? Oh, arrest him, CPS. Is that the evidence?
Well, actually, I mean,
when do we get evidence of potential cases or arrests before they get to trial? And by that I mean we, as in the public. I don't mean like the barristers who are sort of sworn to secrecy to not sort of leak this stuff out. Like, what examples do we have when we have like the evidence per se before you get to trial?
I was going to make a joke about War Thunder, but you meant like actual.
Wow. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, when does that happen?
After the case closes, right? If you're lucky.
Well, so it goes to trial, and then even the criminal court and magistrates, the Crown Court and Magistrates Court, they're not courts of record, so you have to actually apply. You know, you have to send an application to like get the judgment transcript or whatever. So, which I don't like, but hey ho. I think you could sort of use a freedom of information request if, like, for some reason the court like rejected your application first instance. Maybe, I don't know, but otherwise usually you just rely on the news, and that can take a while for details to come out. Like it did with the Axel sort of case, it took a while for more and more details to emerge. So I don't know. The point is like. Yeah, at first instance, it's like no one's really going to know unless if it's such a high-profile case that details can't help but leak out, or if it's one of these like Guy or like the Manchester Airport one where it's like video was immediately available or whatever, and like
that was leaked. That was leaked. I think.
Leaks. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So
I think
it leaked.
I was going to say there were also people there as well, wasn't it? That were filming.
The first footage that came out, it looked like it was from someone's phone, and then it came out recently and from a different like security camera angle.
Yeah, the one CCTV was released, leaked even.
But at the time, we got the phone footage of the attack.
Yeah.
But so a lot of the times you don't have that. So what I was saying is like, well, yeah, when is it the case that like your cases you have all the evidence shown to the members of the public before you get to trial? Like that basically never happens except under very strenuous circumstances. So like if you say it is it's a good thing to ask for evidence, Tharium. I would do that.
But that's the thing. That's the thing.
But at the same time, but the lack of it doesn't prove that it's a fraudulent case. Like proving fraud as well, or like lies and so forth, does require kind of an exercise and actually combing through the evidence, combing through witness statements, which we're not going to have I'm something of an expert on that. And then, yeah, then you could understand, oh, someone's contradicting themselves. They're contradicting a chronology and so forth. These are things that lawyers have to assemble based on evidence, hopefully, and then the evidence needs to be presented. That's not going to emerge at the sort of charging stage or pre-charge stage. And yeah, so I've said this before as well. I won't ramble on too much. But yeah, the many times the CPS has said we're not going to prosecute this person or that person, and then the party goes, "You're wrong. I'm going to judicially review you. I'm going to sue you." And the CPS goes, "Oh, we're sorry," and then they actually reconsider their decision, and then they decide to prosecute the person. Sometimes it's legit, sometimes it's illegitimate, but it happens. It's an administrative decision, and although it is kind of couched in terms of like, if there's enough evidence in terms of language, it's, you know, these are administrators, these are bureaucrats on the kind of lower level deciding these things. So, and there's a lot of legal technical exercises that go into determining what is quote unquote allowable evidence. So it's like a clash of bureaucrats almost on the level of like Department of Work and Pensions people versus the law and its complications. It's not an indication of fraud. It might be. Zia could be you know, because we've seen his personal problems or at least evidence of that. There could also be something else. It's sort of inconclusive.
Circumstantial
Cool.
evidence points to him being that it was all a lie. You've got Farage admitting there was some mistake. The fact you say like there's been no push after it failed. There's no push, and you think, you know, oh, he threatened to kill me. You know, if this was so serious, you know, would Nigel be calling it a mistake? Would they all just be pretending it never happened? Other than Lowe, who's been completely like he says it too much, goes on about it a bit too much for me about how he was innocent and they was tried to frame him. You know, if Lowe's the one lying, I don't know. It doesn't seem likely that Reform would just oh, that was a mistake. Yeah, we shouldn't have done that. So, you know,
well, something bad can happen to you, and then you want genuinely bad, and you think they're an evil person, you want revenge, but for various reasons of publicity, like less so the case of like money for Reform, because they do have money and legal counsel, but then your friends can tell you absolutely to you, they're with you, they support you, they also hate the other person, but they advise you don't sue this person because it's going to be a tough ride, it's going to be really difficult in your mental health or whatever. Don't pursue or don't sort of like relitigate the issue. Like people do charge or ask. Well, yeah, people do ask for the police to prosecute. Like certainly on a whim. I've seen it in like the Mags court before of like seeing lawyers were arguing. Oh, sometimes this happens on a whim. It's a little bit different to say like start proceedings in a judicial review context, which is a bit more involved. And that costs more money than just asking the police to like come around and give people a visit. People's instincts are to call the police for things, not to like go to court for obvious reasons, because there are fees there and there's a bit more publicity, and it's a bit more embarrassing if you like try and sue someone and then you have to stop because people are more primed and conditioned to think of the police as like protectors of public safety. Well, less so now, but whereas they see suing as like a thing that rich people do. That
Mohammed wasn't trying to sue.
Well, no, that's the point. So, like, why didn't he pursue the issue?
Exactly. Yeah.
No. I mean, so
this is a serious crime.
What I'm talking about, Tharium. What I'm talking about, as I said earlier, suing aspect comes with if the CPS like says they look at your case and say, oh, there's not enough evidence, whatever. The next step is you don't prosecute or arrest them. The next step is you then judicially review them. So then they change their decision so that they then decide to charge Rupert Lowe or whatever. That's what I'm talking about. So that's what I meant by, you know, it's a mistake to like pursue this. You could also say like, again, getting the police involved. It was that by itself was a mistake for various reasons. It could be Zia was mistaken, but in a good faith way. It could be that there was a kerfuffle, but you know, let's like Farage thinks this would create too much publicity. British politics, in theory, usually tries to stay away from having political opponents arrested. There's a kind of the bad optics thing that goes on with that. Like we've not really done
ask about the optics. Yeah,
until Mohammed.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Until Mohammed came along,
Well, that's
everything changed.
In your opinion, Vic,
everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Yeah.
I get the reference. But in your opinion, the fact that we haven't heard anything, is that just indicative of the fact that does it usually mean that it's dropped or it's been discontinued, or like, is it just normal to just not
dropped.
hear anything from it? Yeah,
it's dropped. CPS dropped it completely, and Reform realized that, well, Mohammed just made it all up as a vicious attack to get Lowe arrested. So yeah, let's not push this because we can't win.
If it was completely superfluous, then wouldn't Lowe have basically an option to? I'm not sure if he sued, but like to
he's working on
something.
He did threaten
He's working on it. Yeah.
Okay.
How is it said to get a case?
Though he only has a year. He only has a year to sue for defamation, so it's not like he's a lot of time. We're like a few months into whatever since the incident. Well, yeah. So like you could argue that.
Yeah.
You could have that abusive process maybe, or like other sort of civil torts. I think those ones. I'm not sure the limitation period for the other ones. I'm not sure. I don't think they're as long as 6 years. Those are normal tort claims. Judicial review is well, that's like 3 months, but we're not talking about that. But yeah, so defamation, certainly you can use that as a pathway. That's a year long for your limitation period. So he doesn't have a lot of time if he wants to pursue that. I think he did say that in a tweet. I think he did insinuate something like that.
He did, and then, but I don't think there's been an update since. I think it's mostly just been, well, I mean, the article goes into it. He just kind of reply guys about it at this point.
Yeah, sorry to derail.
No, it's fine.
I just found
well, it was on topic,
and Vic's
so...
got a great insight. Well,
yeah, no, I'm
better than I do.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with Vic explaining the situation. Ultimately, Nigel and Zia won, and after much online consternation.
Oh. No, they didn't.
Well, have they lost?
They got all thrown out. It was clear nonsense. They clearly lost that.
No, nobody cares about the legal issue. We're talking political.
Talking about the wider.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about the wider sort of war, as it were.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lowe's way more popular than Mohammed.
Okay. Nigel was able to declare his own victory on the 18th anniversary of D-Day. Go on, Sarah.
I'm just trying to think. Sorry, I'm just trying to think, because like that was the reason of my monologue earlier when I was saying how I didn't really know much about either of them until I was, literally part of, this community and people who are actually in the know about this kind of thing. And I'm wondering, in sheer levels of popularity, where are Lowe and like outside of the online right, who I include myself in to some extent, outside of the online right, how known is Zia and Lowe in comparison to Farage?
Very minimal. Very minimal.
Well,
both of them.
And even Tice, like everyone knows, as far as I know, and the people that I've spoken to on the odd occasion I've actually left my house, it usually the conversation is around Reform and Farage. That's usually where it's at.
Whenever I've talked to my family who are relative normies, none of them have ever mentioned Lowe to me. None have ever mentioned Tice to me. They've only ever mentioned Zia to me because I saw a lot of them when he left the party. Compared to Farage, pretty much all negligible. And I actually, when Zia left, I did have a couple of DMs off people saying, basically, our people in my family said they liked him. Which is
your leftist family. Your leftist family.
No. This was other people's families that I don't know the politics of. Go on, Sarah.
Actually, no.
So these were Muslim families. Got it.
No, none of the people I was talking to were Muslim. Okay, go on, Sarah.
No, it's fine. I was still unpacking, and it would take too long.
Like basically, the only really recognisable in the general public politicians are Jeremy Corbyn, Keir Starmer, Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage. Outside of that, it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
Because the thing I was going to mention was that outside of like with the normies that I speak to, the topics you hear are immigration, reform, Farage. That's all I hear as far as the major points that when people actually talk about these things, it's usually something along the lines of, immigration's too high, and then Farage says this and sort of takes that as that's probably the reform position if Farage says it. That's usually what I hear.
It's pretty much 1-to-1, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which has its obvious advantages anyway.
I guess this is partly why I don't like the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, and I realize this isn't actually the case, but this is just my perception, most of these people are non-entities. And the fact that we are getting I mean, they're not completely inconsequential, but as far as I'm concerned, they are sort of inconsequential adjacent. And the fact that we're fracturing the right about it, that's what, as you know, what gets me. Sorry, Karen.
I feel like what you're confusing is being inconsequential and being unknown. There are plenty of very powerful people who are completely unknown that pull a lot of strings. And like with reform, you see it's Mohammed who is the one pulling all the strings, which is what gives people like me and many others concern, because he's not to be trusted.
I mean, I will actually say, yeah, I think inconsequential and unknown, you are right, absolutely there. But yeah, I don't really know. And again, I think it's just when I hear what people care about or what they say that they care about, most of what I hear is usually just the fact that the country's in a mess.
Mm-hmm.
They're more worried about the country as a whole, not necessarily. I don't usually hear people like unprompted talk about demographics, that kind of thing.
I find people
sorry, with the one exception of boat people. That's the one exception I hear.
Well, people often don't know how to express what they're feeling, really. That's the thing. They just can tell everything's bad. But like you mentioned the boat people. There was some YouGov came out with some information recently, and this is YouGov, who will always try and frame everything in the most pro-leftist way possible. And the most people think that immigration is entirely driven. A lot of people is entirely driven by the illegal boat immigrants. They don't realize that the majority of immigration is completely legal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that is a problem.
So they're seeing these, like, all these feral scum on our streets, and they are assuming they're just the illegal ones when they're probably not. They're probably legal, and that's. So if once more people realize this, that's going to really radicalize them.
Do you reckon trying to link? Sorry, but do you reckon trying to link crime to immigration would be a good way to go?
Oh, reform are clearly trying to contain this by only talking about illegals.
Are they? Are they only talking about illegals?
Yeah, they are. They are.
I actually.
I guess net zero immigration's not there then. Go on, sorry.
This is actually where I actually have warmed to the idea of the Motte and Bailey. Yeah. Whether it works or not is another matter, but I do actually think that the Motte and Bailey argument actually is correct.
Yeah,
where
you see,
we start with the boat people, and then we'll work from there. That's kind of. I do actually think that is the strategy.
Well, you see, like, even Labour, they're trying to just put all the attention on the illegal immigrants, which is a minority of the problem.
Well, it's the wedge. It's the thin end of the wedge, right?
Yeah, but they're all trying to just keep the attention on the illegals, rather than other than Rupert Lowe, who says openly, legal is been more of a problem for us. They're all trying to just keep their focus on that, on the illegals. And like I said, people think that it's all, so they see feral savages in the streets. They think they've just come off a boat when they probably haven't.
I think that this is actually where, and I mentioned this to Harry before, like, I think that this is an important point. And sorry, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts. This is where the Lotus Eaters, I actually do have some empathy, and where it's like, why won't you use the magic words, remigration, these kinds of things.
Oh yeah, and you know what? that just on that, the most
Yeah.
popular position, remigration. That's the most popular position.
What are you basing that on?
And I believe
The same YouGov poll.
I think that I think that this is where I'm mixed on it. And I think that this is where, on one point, I can see why they don't say it for the sake of optics. And then I'm also annoyed that they don't say it for the sake of optics. Does that make any sense?
But that's the thing. He's saying for optics. But yeah, in this YouGov poll, most popular position is stop all immigrants and remigration.
Do they use the word remigration? What do they say?
Yeah, they say it was stop all immigration and return many of those who have arrived.
Oh, so they don't use the magic word, right?
No, of course they did. No, well, they made it simple for everyone to understand. That's clearly,
Wow, great! Wow, no, you should use clear language. Yeah, I agree. Cool. Yeah.
Because for the sake of optics. But does that make sense? What I mean, it's like
if
I can understand why they don't say it for the sake of optics.
If there was a party who actually embraced it, they'd be very popular.
Well,
the problem is again that the problem is that it's also a gambit where it is one hell of a gambit, and I think that that's part of the problem because there's also there's the chance that it wouldn't, and if it doesn't, it sinks the party, and then we don't have any.
I've said it a million times. To win elections, you basically need to be right-wing but not make people feel like they're voting Nazis. That's all you have to do. And if you keep saying magic words that a load of Nazis are saying and you can easily be associated with, you're going to ruin yourself.
British people are... There are a load of normal British people.
You just said they didn't have the magic words. What are you talking about? Stop it.
It could have been remigration. I'll find it. But it is talking about regroupment. You're the only one who fusses so much. You and Nigel just fuss about magic words. No one else does.
It's because the average person doesn't want to be considered out of uncouth. Basically, it is one of the it is a very English trait, and I love it. But unfortunately, it's also used against us a lot. Us, British, whatever.
Yeah,
what I mean. And so we don't want to be uncouth. We don't want to be considered. We don't want to be considered. We don't want to be causing trouble for other people. We don't want to be seen as massively rocking the boat unnecessarily, and we don't want to be considered Nazis. But the fact is, the only reason that nowadays we don't really care as much about it is because, number one, the term has become so diluted. That's one. If it actually had its original,
nobody cares.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the same time, it still has enough that people can sort of still lose their jobs over it. People can still get, doxed and harassed about it, even if, because again, your average person is not your average person isn't unreasonable. Your average Englishman is not unreasonable, right? But, and we don't want to be considered as such. But at the same time, what is used to be considered normal is now considered unreasonable. And so I can understand it. I can understand the wanting to couch your words to come across to your normie, but at the same time, this is going back to my thing about, Trump and the fact that the reason that he was popular at first was because he rocked the boat. And I don't know if that was just an American thing, but I was very disappointed personally when, as soon as Farage became an MP, the brakes it seemed that they slammed on. And I can understand that. I can understand why you would do that, but I'm still a bit torn on the fact that he did it, if that makes sense. I rest my case. That's
cool.
The night is not young anymore.
Well, we'll get back to the article anyway. So Nigel was able to declare his own victory on the 80th anniversary of D-Day 2 months later, and meanwhile Lowe sits around reply-guying Zia as some kind of jilted lover. Oof. Difference between Lowe and Yusuf couldn't be clearer. Interestingly, they have both done interviews with the newsagents, Rupert with Emily Maitlis and Zia with Lewis Goodall. Lowe came across as smug, as so self-evidently correct, that he need not make a real case for his own positions, nor provide any counter-arguments, even to Maitlis' simplest of jabs.
Oh, what a joke. Lowe absolutely destroyed her. this guy's
I think
a lying piece of
we,
shit.
we went through
Lowe
this
destroyed her.
we went through this on the
Lowe destroyed
Discord. Not many people agreed. He just didn't engage from the looks of it.
I think I
No, he
missed it. What
destroyed.
was this?
He just she was just trying to call him racist, and he just he refused to engage with it. He
Quite a bit
destroyed her.
more. I mean, it wasn't just an hour of her calling him racist. I can't remember if she used the actual word, but the one that always stuck out with me is, why are you focusing on Pakistani men when there's loads of white gangs as well who online and whatever, and
didn't import them.
Basically his answer was because the Pakistani gangs were going after white girls, and it's like, no, the answer is because that's being covered up and not being dealt with properly. That's why. Plus police were involved as well. It's institutionally involved, but he didn't say that. Instead, he just he went on the Pakistanis are racist to white girls, and it's like, I mean that may be true, but that's not the main reason for this. The main reason is that it's not been dealt with, is still ongoing, and there are plenty of girls who are being raped still to this day, as we saw in the Oxford reveal. That's the one off the top of my head I remember anyway. Anyway,
the thing is, again, it's but it is such an easy one, right? Number one, we do have issues with people in this country, but number one, we didn't import them. Number two, this is something that, especially now, this appears to be something that's actually been actively covered up.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like
but that wasn't quite said by Lowe. Mateless gets away with a great deal because Rupert
he does. He says that all the time.
We're talking about the interview, though. Yeah. She gets.
And again, this is actually something. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say this is something that I think that like Lowe has absolutely said things that I wish that I was hearing from Farage. That is unequivocal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Lowe believes it. Nigel doesn't.
I mean, again, I don't know that, and
Nigel is a weird Orientalist. Like, he is the one who, I'd rather more Indians in the country than Polish. He just hates us. He really despises us.
Well,
I mean, Poles are pretty cool. I mean, some of them.
Well, you're biased in that.
I am a little bit biased in that, yes. Though I've met pretty Indians as well, so
everyone will do pretty potato. Come on. She gets away. Mateless gets away with a great deal because Rupert is far too arrogant. He sees no value in convincing anyone to our side, and would no doubt be happiest at a funfair hall of mirrors, conversing with a series of warped, reflected clones of himself.
Just nonsense. He's not engaging because all she was trying to do was gotchas. You're a racist, gotcha. That's all it was.
It wasn't just that.
That is an as far as
Rupert handled it perfectly.
As far as raw prose, though, I loved that. I can't say to the accuracy, but as far as just prose, that was really well written.
By contrast with Zia, you have someone who can engage in the nuance of a multitude of issues with candour, effectively combating Lewis's admittedly clever. He is far more effective than Mateless in this regard. Lines of attacks against Zia and Reform's policy positions. The interview was able to arrive at this point because Zia actually cares about what he is doing. Mateless, by contrast, was able to call Rupert a racist, giggle, and call it a day. Once again, Rupert lost, Zia won. I thought,
rubbish.
We've got disagreement here.
This guy's a cultist. He's a cultist like you. Just any shit Mohammed says is just laps it up. Mohammed always comes across horribly in interviews because there's nothing believable about him. It's just all you can see. Oh, right, he's practiced his little line. He's going to trot it out with dead eyes.
No, I don't.
No belief in it.
No, I don't agree with that. Zia definitely engages, thinks dynamically. I'd argue against that. Anyway.
Also, I don't think that he's lying.
Oh, he is.
You
can tell a liar. You can tell liars.
I actually meant in this case Harren. We're all friends here. I don't think he's a cultist either.
Right.
He can be unreasonable sometimes. Sorry, Harren.
I think Harren would even. Even Harren would say he's a cultist. I
am never unreasonable. Oh, am I a cultist? You know what? Whatever wins.
Okay, I'll take it back.
I just don't really care if I am or I aren't, to be honest. Those best placed to gain from issues facing reform know very well how valuable an asset Zia is for the party. Attacks on Zia are usually at least tacitly pro-Tory. When Zia had a crash out a moment back in June and resigned as chairman of the Reform UK, both establishment politicians in the Chud mob were delighted to not only see reform in chaos but also key figure exile himself for a period of time, which in that moment seemed as though it was going to be forever. Yep.
Because Mohammed is the toxic centre of reform, and with him there, it's never going to be it's never going to go anywhere.
It's never going to go. It's top of the
reform had a chance when. Yeah, but who cares if you win if you doesn't do anything?
You can't go anywhere, but who cares if you win? What do you mean?
No. What I mean for when I say go anywhere, I mean in like actually helping the British people, fixing this country. And they're not interested in that. Reform's one chance. The reform had a chance when Mohammed left. Like there was a lot of, yes, we can win this. Like Vic was saying about, being people in the wings. This was like the chance for the actual patriots in the wings to sort of put themselves forwards. But his return just completely ruined all that.
I thought all the people got kicked out already.
I've heard there's some who are just keeping their mouths shut.
Well, that's wise.
But I don't. No, it's not though, because what's the point? You're not reform is Mohammed is just going to purge you as soon as he figures anything out. There's no changing reform from the inside. It's totally locked down.
What a hero. Likewise, when a racist, anti-Semitic poltergeist possessed Zia Yusuf's phone, the Tory machine engaged with all pistons, shooting out as many shadow ministers, MPs, and client journalists as it could against Zia to maximise pressure against him. Why over something so as understandable as a tweet being maliciously liked by the spectral intern of the Millbanks past? Because Zia is a threat, just as Nigel is, and especially to the Tory party. That even semi-prominent figures of the online right, who most pride themselves on how so radical and revolutionary they are, consistently find themselves aligned with Tory politicians and against reform, should tell you everything you need to know. Just want to show something off. I'm cited in an article, fellas. That is me. Technically, it's a clip from New Culture.
I clapped when I saw him.
I didn't even see it.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good. You enjoy.
I am cited, and I am.
What will you do with all of this fame? Will you?
I'll
hopefully you won't let it go to your head.
Oh, I'll do it, and I'll do an Andrew Tate and convert to Islam. Why not? What were you saying, Sarah?
I can't remember.
Fair enough. I haven't heard Steadman say anything in a while. Steadman, wake up, say something.
I'm still here. I came across Larry's article on the Anglo Right Annual Audit, and it's basically, obviously, we're not going to go on a sidetrack and look at that, obviously, but it's along the same lines of what we've been reading of Lowe sort of. It's he's could be a force for good, but there's some warning signs there. And if you're wary about Zia Yusuf and so forth, you've got to be wary about Lifeboat Lowe, who's helping keep some Tories afloat.
Reform have way more Tories. This is just such a joke.
Because they're much larger. And they're taking mostly sort of middlemen or people on the ground.
Sorry,
Gavin Williamson. Where is he?
Yeah, I don't agree with him. But there's way more in reform.
You do not have Gavin Williamson types
Zia Yusuf.
You do not have Gary Williamson types in reform. Jake Berry's probably the worst one they had. He's not even being given a position. He's literally just there to advise on how to work in the cabinet. Yeah. So that is fair.
Gavin Williams has no position. So
he was.
What do you mean? Well, to be fair, no official position. It's a bit different when you sort of stand next to him. Take a photo.
You're trying to smear like this with your lies when Gavin Williamson is nothing.
I'm sorry, he is standing by the record that he had in government under Theresa May, under Boris Johnson. He's standing by that record. That is very bad. At the very
Gavin Williamson is
Gavin Williams isn't anything though.
Not now, but he's still standing by his own record.
That's not nothing.
Yeah, he was multiple ministers. He was defence secretary.
Yeah, multiple ministers.
But they're standing by their record. At the very least, Jake Berry, who is the worst one to come over to Reform, wrote a whole article for The Spectator respecting
all of this crap.
It's not crap. At the very least, he did that. He's not standing by his record, and in fact, he's saying, we failed all of you. This was horrendous.
Yeah.
I would at least want that.
Which, I mean, you don't have to believe that.
I really believe you.
You don't have.
You don't have to believe.
You don't actually have to. You don't have to believe. I don't believe Jake Berry. I mean, but the whole point is like, well, that's better, quote unquote, than like, hey, Gavin Williamson, hey, buddy, let's get a not selfie, but a photo. Let's stop the rape games, which is a good thing, obviously. But it's like,
it's not.
Is there no sort of quality control with Lowe?
Vic, it's not. Vic, it's not just the selfie or picture. He's on the advisory board.
Oh, fuck. Well, yeah, I got that. Okay, well, yeah. that is kind of
that's like high. That's high up in Restore.
There's something.
That's high up in Restore. Let's be real.
Yeah, and
Lifeboat Lowe.
You totally dismiss Jake Berry for the same thing. You're
but that's good. That's completely different to being on, say, the board of directors of them, having a position as a candidate. Being He's. I don't even know if he's an official advisor.
He's
just
different.
Joined. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Like the advisory board is the top of Restore. The top of Reform is the board of directors. So.
I mean,
that's more.
They'll be all Zia's people. So.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with Restore. Or even Advance. I want them to do well.
Yeah, Restore are very good.
Well, again, in the same way that AMD, I'm going to use a terrible example. AMD didn't take over the GPU market, but they did sure kick NVIDIA up the ass. And that's why I think that we need to have as many voices on the right as possible. We're not going to agree on everything, but we need to normalize a lot of these ideas. And if we can normalize, in the mathematical sense between us, I mean, I think that we can't do worse than we currently have. As far as
I don't know about that.
Okay, well, I would rather not. But then the thing that and Harren does mention this in some of his videos, and we've mentioned it before, but I think that there is a lot to say for the fact that the Uni Party seem to be very scared of what, not necessarily reform, but maybe what can come out of reform. So
they're not.
And no, they are. Because again, it's like what Vic said, right? If reform don't deliver and they fall through, then we have an awful lot of stuff.
Then they're scared.
There's a lot. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot waiting in the wings. And
which is why the Uniparty realised that reform is their last chance to try and contain this.
Yeah, but then if they try and contain it,
which is why.
Well.
But they're just going to pillage as much as they can from the country.
I don't think that. I mean, again, I go on Farage's thing, even at Brexit, right? Like, I always look at all these people, right? They are not short of money, from what I know. They don't need to pillage. So
I don't think Nigel is that wealthy.
I mean, he's got enough to live comfortably.
Enough.
Like if
but you know what these people are like.
Well, the thing is, I don't think the Niraj, the Farage is like this, because again, if he wanted to retire, he could. And maybe this is also
he's going to be retired. Mohammed is going to retire him, either before the election or very shortly after. Nigel is going to be retired off, and Mohammed will take the leadership. That's the plan.
But I thought Farage was a messianic cult leader. Like, can't really get rid of him. He's like, surely, Farage will want power and nothing but power.
I mean, I'm actually I have my own concerns. Sorry, Tharium, just to say, I have my own concerns that if Farage does leave or retires or whatever, that reform might actually fall apart. That is actually something I am worried about. But sorry, carry on.
Yeah, Nigel is. So Mohammed is the one who's interested in power. That's his thing. He's all just, trying to turn us into Dubai, fill us with his mates. turn the British people into an underclass. Nigel, it's just about the status and the popularity and people saying they love him. That's Nigel's main driving goal.
To be fair, he does love this country.
I don't know. His plan was he was going to fuck off to America and sort of be like a Trump orbiter there.
But then
apparently that is I heard something about that wasn't like entirely accurate. I think he was obviously going to go to America, but then his plan was to come back because he thought the election would happen sort of like in the autumn, whatever. But then the election was called early. So I mean, the point is like, well, he was still he had a kind of, what was it, not advisory position, but like sort of honorary position.
I mean, the thing
still
is,
before me when Price was like chairman.
Honorary president.
Like, the point is, he didn't just honorary president. That was it. Yeah. So he didn't like get up and leave wholesale. And like, well, why do you think he wanted to go to America? Well, obviously because there was an election that was going to happen, a really important one. So it's like, well,
Trump,
is that like a bad thing for? Well, Trump is dumping a lot of people, and although I'm not off the Trump train, it's like, well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Like I said at the start of this episode, I try and be critical. And it's like, well, is that really a bad thing per se? Since Trump has done some bad things in the second term, it's like, is that really a bad thing to be dumped by someone that the British public hates? I don't know.
But Nigel doesn't hate him.
Well, I don't hate him. Oh, actually, I guess it wasn't a question for me, was it? But like, I guess my point is more just about just someone who just loves the country, and would, if
that's
you
could
push it, but I think that it is.
Well, okay, well, yeah.
If there are any, they are definitely top heavy in reform and distributed towards the right parties. But I think that I don't think that there's any question that it's like, for example, Jeremy Clarkson. Is he someone who travels all over the world? Yes. Does he love this country? Yes. No doubt about it.
And he doesn't like reform.
Well, I didn't know that.
So he doesn't.
But
well, I mean,
Clarkson.
he doesn't like a lot of things. Doesn't like Brexit either.
Yeah, but it's kind of more just at least somebody like actually cares, and that puts him head and shoulders above.
Yeah, but
puts him head and shoulders above what we have now.
They like Michaela's school a lot, though. Okay, like the hijabis are reciting the national anthem. Brilliant. That's it for them. That's the country's saved. That's their version of the country. They view like just the flag. They don't view the people, and that's the real problem with reform. And
then I think that
if you ask like Nigel and Mohammed, somewhere like Birmingham, that's just been completely taken over and lost. If they just replaced the Palestine flags with Union Jacks, they're happy. They think that's perfect, brilliant. Multiculturalism has worked. We're winning. That's all they want. They don't want to actually improve these people.
That's a good start.
Well,
they don't want to improve these places. They're not going to do anything to these people. They're not going to change anything. They're just going to keep importing them.
Well, do anything to these people probably implies like you're going to, again, re-migrate them. So because that's like the inevitable train of thought, which is like, well, it's like, it's like yes, but it's easy to say that when well, again, we've been down this rabbit hole before of like, is it popular? People want to get legals out, and they do want to get rid of these like quote unquote legals who are actually just like scum and like stab people and rape people. It's like, are they going to get rid of sort of like black BBC presenter? Are they going to get rid of these people? It's like, well, I'm not so sure about that one.
BBC presenter
could you have an elite vanguard of
BBC presenter is a massive red flag.
In the sense of like people will want. I'm using an example just like I couldnn't think of like a specific name. It is early in the morning.
Like a computer scientist or something, or Yeah,
Like
somebody
David
who's
or
Lammy.
whatever.
established. Yeah.
Yeah, or something like
'Cause-
that.
David Lammy
because
we
that
want deported.
because that's like there is a point where there's what we would like, and then there's sort of what is practical, and I think that is something we're going to have to work out, and it's something Reform's going to have to work out, because it's like there's a lot of things that we could do. There's not a lot of things that we're actually going to practically be able to do, and there is going to be an element of having to pick our battles to some extent. Anyway, sorry, I just realized I've derailed. But
in that Asmongold video you linked the other day, even he, the very moderate, most popular political commentator,
most humble,
and he is very moderate. He realizes,
he is actually,
like he was saying in that video, chances of us actually sorting this problem, 100%. And he's not talking about the Reform way. He's not talking about the Reform way. He's talking about my way. And he thinks that is completely inevitable.
I really don't care what an American thinks of Britain. I have to be honest with you.
I'm just saying. The point is, seriously moderate guy.
I cannot tell you how embarrassed I would be if Asmongold was on my side. But anyway,
I will staunchly disagree, only because he actually does have a very he has a surprisingly good grip on how things are going. He's got his finger on the pulse of how things are going.
Yeah,
he's actually a lot more moderate than I am, for example.
Yeah, and his predictions, he doesn't necessarily like them, but his predictions are usually turned out correct, unlike yours. So
I think most of my predictions turned out correct.
No, they haven't. No, you just make up like completely hypothetical nonsense and say, "Oh, see, I was right," when you've just made up the whole thing.
Aren't predictions?
I love how Harry, he makes up history. He does. He's actually the writer of history. He's
like his going. I predicted that Restore would just be a Tory restoration project. It's not that in the slightest. And then he just turns a blind eye to Reform UK, bringing in dozens of Tories. Like who's trying to save the Tories here exactly?
The man who's
whereas Rupert Lowe has a position.
There's something called proportionality, right?
Rupert Lowe has the position. Rupert Lowe has the position that 80% of Tories.
Sorry, I really do want to be smug, to be honest.
And so that's why he posed with Gavin Williamson, one of the chief targets for that supposed purging.
I just want to make the point. My whole Twitter feed for the past 2 weeks has basically been people telling me I'm right. People DMing me basically saying, the lot of Pimlico Journal have basically come around to your point of view. It's like, funny that. So yeah, I have been right about quite a lot, actually.
You haven't been.
So
you're wrong about
thank you very much, but I am going to be incredibly smug for the rest of this stream because it has been incredible.
You've been completely beaten.
It's fine, I'm carrying on, mate. Reform can lose some bile weight figures, which and be unfazed on their voyage, just as Lowe's loss showed, and even more recently, James McMurdoch's. I actually completely forgot he went. But Reform cannot afford to lose Zia. Farage recognises this, and so should you. So it is we, the Zionists, who recognise Zia's contribution to Reform, and it is we who actually care about winning power. Winning power is the only thing that matters, and Zia has done incalculable work toward us doing so. Often you will find that those who take themselves totally self-seriously are simultaneously the most unserious in their convictions or ambitions. Conversely, those who are outwardly Conversely, those who are outwardly cooler and sassier are often those who are the most serious about their objectives. So to those who continue to dislike the born and bred Scotsman of Clan Yusuf, I say sorry to hear that, doing it anyway. And stand by Nigel's relatively newfound knight of the Reform table.
That's Mac Yusuf to you.
May Allah provide perceivable courage on his grail quest for King Arthur.
It's just so revolting.
Percival, I think.
Percival,
it's such a rape. It's such a rape of our culture. It makes me so mad.
Inshallah, brother.
It's a rape of our people, and it's unforgivable. This fucker's getting the stocks when we get into power.
My God, man. They born and bred
in
Scotsman.
in Roblox. In Roblox.
It's like his brother
It's
brother
okay, it'll be
Hamza,
legal by then,
always
right?
claiming to be Scottish. You know, it's the same thing. It's just
He
revolting.
doesn't always. I did a whole video on it. He doesn't always.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the same.
Yusuf, I've only ever heard refer to himself as British. He'll say his parents are from Sri Lanka. That's the way he'll put it.
He's not British.
He
has no claim to that.
is.
He has no claim. He has no link to our people whatsoever. None.
He has a link to these people because Nigel likes.
No, he
him.
doesn't. Oh, that doesn't make you one of us.
Was Sri Lanka Commonwealth?
Yeah, it's next to India.
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, he's just an inbred.
But it's a republic.
It's disgusting to try and claim he's Scottish.
He's inbred from Pakistan, a country that is on the other side of the Middle East.
All of the Indian subcontinent
India,
all of the Indian subcontinent Muslims are Pakistani, basically. There's no difference between them. You think a Muslim in India is really that different from the Muslims in Pakistan?
Probably not in the Punjab region,
Persians?
but this is the other side of India.
Or
It depends.
They're all
where
the same.
in India.
Yeah, and what do the Sri Lankan Muslims do? Oh,
Or at least
blow
the
up
modernists.
Christians. Right, yeah. They're all the same. They're all just Pakistanis there.
Not though, are they?
Why do they keep blowing up Christians then?
I don't
in
know.
Sri Lanka?
I don't know. I don't.
Oh, because that's
focus
just
on-
what these people do. That's just what they do. All of them.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think every Muslim's blown up Christians, and I don't think many of them intend to. To be honest with you.
Okay, so like in some of these towns where the Muslims have taken over, there's like 1 in 8 of them have been arrested and charged for raping our children. So this means like every single one of them is involved. You don't get that.
So
that's just the numbers who have been arrested.
How's Zia involved? I'm confused here. How's Zia involved?
Well, he's one of them. He's one of them. He lived
do you
in
mean he's
London,
one of them?
which has the
He
worst
lived in
Muslim rape
London.
gangs.
I
Which has the
actually have
worst Muslim rape gangs. He is a
I
pimp.
have a-
He just pimped
He's a
out white
pimp.
British girls to his rich mates.
I
Yeah, that's
have
what
a
Velocity
question.
Black was.
Uh,
He's always
I'm
lying.
done.
Sorry, he's always lying about how he's a tech entrepreneur. Utter crap. You set up a concierge company to pimp out white women to your rich mates. Fuck off, you tech company, because he thinks that sounds cool. He's just such a lying shit. He is.
Somebody should get them like a downfall clip of Hitler raging, and then dub it with Barry's voice.
We'll need subtitles.
Um,
Translate it to German.
but
Like with AI or
Um,
whatever.
Yeah.
But good.
Go on.
so I'm just trying to work out how to.
But okay, I will say
I-
quickly in Tharium's
yeah.
defense.
Yeah, no, go for it,
if
go for it.
if he has look, if you can find evidence of this, I won't stop you, Tharium. Like it is important. If Zia is a bad person, it would be good to actually expose that. But it
Yeah,
is
like, I'm not saying
difficult if
you're
you're just
wrong.
sort of sitting there and seething.
I mean, I wish I could. I've got no idea where to begin with this stuff. But
Go on.
but it's true. You can. It's obviously true though. But it's like, okay, getting like the actual documents and stuff. Well, that's tricky.
Go on, Sarah.
Well, fair enough, but I'm sure there are snoopers, people who can investigate on the online, right?
I mean, I
Yeah,
wish there were. I wish there were.
We trolled Shia
really
LaBeouf,
hope,
so we could do it again.
I really hope there are some people who are actually doing this, doing the work, because you know he's got like they're gonna find stuff, but I mean, no one in the mainstream, no one in the mainstream is going to be doing that because precious Muslim, right? So they're not going to. But I hope there are some people who are like who know how to like sniff this stuff out.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, what were
I
you saying,
had a
Sarah?
No, you're fine. I was just trying to sort of collect it, and I promise this isn't a gotcha. This is a genuine question. When it comes to because I know that it was meant to be somewhat tongue in cheek, but if, for example, the Assyrian or the Persians are meant to be the same sort of genetic pool as the Pakistanis, we do differentiate between, and especially they do differentiate between Sikh and Muslim, even though they are actually part of a similar genetic pool. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like
you sort of see what I'm trying to say? Like I wasn't able to put it into a question.
I think I point on this. It's like Sadiq Khan. He's not quoting the hadiths and stuff, you know, but he is a proud Muslim like Muhammad, and you know, so just because he's not following like the scripture to the letter doesn't mean that he's not an enemy, right? Because he's got that out-group loyalty there. That's still always there. That you're going to always see with any sort of Muslim scum that you allow into anywhere near government, and you just can't have that.
Because again, I don't want to go a bit too. I don't even know what it would be referred to as, but I guess what I'm sort of saying is that, like, at my sort of very fundamental base level understanding, Sikhs seem to be like Sikhs. I don't know how to make this not sound bad, but they seem a lot more compatible.
Like they are, but they're not really. Like they don't.
But
they don't cause problems, but they don't integrate.
Yeah. But then I'm sort of mentioning that
because they're brown.
Well, not just brown, because like about 2/3 of the planet is brown, but like they're also very local.
They guess what I'm sort of saying. They've got serious in-group bias, incredible in-group bias.
Every group should have in-group bias. Well, I'm saying that the English should.
Yeah, we should. We should, and we shouldn't have scum like Mohammed Yusuf. We shouldn't have. No, like you know, I like. There's a difference between you being here and you being in government. So scum like Mohammed Yusuf should never be anywhere near government. Just clearly, it should only be natives.
I hope he ends up as chancellor. You know, it'll be great.
You're going to have him as prime minister. So
I certainly wouldn't complain. Yeah, that'll be good.
It's disgusting. It's so revolting, that attitude. They're just like, oh yeah,
why?
I can't wait.
Great.
I can't wait for the foreigner to rule me.
He would absolutely. He'd probably only be bested out by Thatcher. I gotta say, yeah.
But do you sort of see what I was kind of trying to assemble there, where it's like, I think that there's an element of. Again, I don't want to sound like one of those blank slatist people, but like there is an element of like there is an element of ideology, and I think that the ideology in some respects, depending on whatever flavor of it that you have, is probably going to be more of a problem than ethnicity.
Yeah, it is.
But then I'm saying that as somebody because I don't really take ethnicity into a lot of regard personally, because I kind of can't. But do you sort of say what? So
yeah, you're right. Muslims are a problem. They will always be a problem. They can never be trusted, any of them.
But not all Muslims, because Muslims have got their own. They've got their own sects as well, for example. Okay,
yeah, all bad.
But that's my piece. Sort of just trying to assemble that. Sorry, it took so long.
And again,
fair, my meds have worn off. So,
like, even if you don't cause problems, like the Chinese generally don't cause problems, but they shouldn't be in government.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean,
well, fair enough. They're basically foreign in outlook. Then yeah, fair enough.
I'm generally in favor of the idea that, you know, people who are in government probably should be native to some extent.
I would never be able to get anywhere in government in Sri Lanka. So yeah, and I'm fine with that. Why would I be? And like, if I did move to another country, I wouldn't expect to be. I wouldn't expect to be in their government. I'd just be silly. You know, I'd just be happy being a guest.
Well, I think one of the main political parties of Peru, like, is basically just ran by Japanese heritage people who look visibly Japanese.
Right.
And it's a whole thing. I'm not like expert on the topic, but it's a whole thing about sort of Latin America having, like, some countries having like an East Asian sort of elite or whatever. Not like fully, obviously, but you know, there's like specific people who gain power, and they're clearly that 2 generations ago they were foreign, quote unquote, but they become natives, as it were.
I do hold the new world to different standards because, you know, like they're not the same, are they? Whereas like the old world in
Was it
Europe,
magic
we
clay? Is that it? It's magic clay.
It's like like America, the land
There's a
came
lot of
before
clay
the
in my
people.
area.
Whereas in
carry on.
Europe, the land came before the people, right? Whereas in Europe, it's all talking about very old, millennia-old tribes. The people came before the nations, the countries did. You know, it's completely the opposite way around from us to the old world.
Damn.
Like when America say
culture
we
is-
were, like America can say they were built by immigrants. When you're trying to say that about Britain, that's just nonsense.
Very
Yeah,
true.
Well, I
culture is
don't.
what
I don't
people
think
do for a long
America was
enough
built by
period of
immigrants
time.
is true.
No, I
It
don't.
certainly
think
is a
that.
country of immigration, but
Yeah, yeah, and is, you know,
but
if
this is I
Muhammad
don't know. This
wants,
is too much
like if Muhammad was American, you know, that's different. Like if he was in America doing this stuff, because that's just how they are. You know, they're not a people. They're a blunt. Harrian, fuck you. Being born in a stable does not make you a horse.
That's all right. He's bred as
Seriously.
well. The man has only known
Can't believe
Scotland.
No, he hasn't. He lived in America for a while, and then most of his life was spent in London raping underage girls. So
the Scottish. The
Like-
Scottish are
like-
not a separate
You're
species.
very-
either
you're
from
very-
English. As much as we like to meme
Mhm.
about that, so it's not like a horse versus a pig in a barn. It's a. I get the analogy, but there are holes in the analogy.
it's amazing how like the Muhammad containment has just taken hold so fast, because we all agreed being born in a barn doesn't make you a horse, but until like, oh, but now Muhammad's around. Oh well, no, actually,
Horse is a biological species
actually,
concept.
we need to take on the left wing position of everyone born here is completely Scottish. He's ethnically Scottish. Sadiq Khan is ethnically English. It's a joke.
Well, a barn
reason
isn't
I
a
find
legal
this kind of-
construct; it's a physical location, and a horse
Is
is
it
not a legal designation based on heritage. It's a biological species genes concept.
Vic, is the barn a social construct? Is that what you're saying?
Kinda.
Sorry.
Well, the barn, you know, if you use reader response theory, as I've learned in my many years of university study, which have clearly made me more stupid, you know, you'll see the barn is actually a product of humanity, and
It is
humans
true.
live in a society. So therefore,
live.
the barn is a social construct.
It is true. It is true. The worst thing is I actually know I know roughly the logic as well to get you
Well-
there. And it is completely true.
Well,
But,
I am going to.
I just made bullshit up, and it sounds like actual.
I am
Look, if
going-
you put bullshit into
I-
a journal, then it becomes true. That's what I've learned.
I am going to lock
True,
you in this.
real.
I'm going to lock you in this social construct and not feed you. That's what I'm going to do with this social
That's
construct.
what I've
of a
been
barn.
going through for the last decade. That is effectively and what we've all been through in the last decade. But I was.
Well,
gonna
yeah.
say
Speaking
just
of
on
which, I do want breakfast soon.
Oh yeah, on the
But you go
tail
on, Seb.
end. Sorry, I was just going to say on the tail end of being born in a stable doesn't make you a horse. I'm considered a foreigner in my home country.
Yeah.
I mean, people.
So it's like
Go on.
I was born in the stable as a horse, and I'm not considered one. So it's like I think that I think that
No, you weren't.
it's a bit more. I think that there is an element where we are splitting hairs, where the actual problem here is something that is almost completely detached from. I don't want to start sounding like a leftist, but basically politicians got us into this position, and then they forced us into this place where we've had to start adapting to, because okay, humans make change over time. We adapt to things slowly over time. We had to adapt to basically 1,000 years worth of adaptation in the space of essentially 100 to 50 years. And we're wondering why suddenly we're bursting at the seams. Over the top of that, we have been very poorly managed for at least the last 2 generations. And the last generation has really put a strain, and the last 5 to 10 years have been horrific. And so that's, I think, that the perspective that we're actually missing. And I think that we're probably splitting hairs a bit by focusing a bit too much on. We're focusing on the things, the problems that are coming out of our current situation rather than the problems that put us into our current situation. Does that Do I still sound like a leftist? Please don't say I sound like a
I
leftist.
don't think you sound
No,
like a
no, I get what you mean.
Thank you.
Though,
I'm glad it makes
well,
sense.
never mind.
I mean, they're kind of intertwined, really. You get
they are now.
like you deal with both at the same time. You can't you can't not deal with both at the same time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Anyway.
sorry, go.
Well, no, I mean, I was going to wrap up. I mean, there you go. That's the argument for Zionism. You know, me and Tharium obviously haven't changed our minds. Sarah, any different perspective from before the stream to now, or have you largely gone through it all, do you reckon?
I think I've gone through most of it. Yeah, I think I'll save it.
Zia, yay, nay, still need to be convinced.
Still need to be convinced.
Ooh.
But we have been dealt. We're playing a game of blackjack, and we've been dealt. I don't know. Let's call it. We've been dealt a 15, and we can draw and hope that we get a 6 or under.
I'd say we've been dealt something really shit. I don't know.
Oh,
my point is that.
Go on.
My point is that I kind of feel that we have the chance for it to either go over or it can go under, but there's also a relatively good chance. I had to do some really quick maths in my head, but yeah, basically we have a good chance of it going one way or the other, and I think that we do have a chance. I don't think that Zia is necessarily the psyop. I haven't been convinced of that yet.
Oh, but
I could be convinced of that if the right evidence came out.
So
kind of similar to what? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's like a lot. He's definitely courting all these foreign Muslim investors, and we've seen like big investments from a couple of like over $1 million.
One, literally one.
That we've heard of.
Right. Right. Yeah. Steadman.
Sorry, Vic. Yeah, Vic. Yeah.
Vic.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm waiting for your question, but I guess it's imply yay, nay, or
yay, nay, or unconvinced / anything else you want to say about Zia and Zion.
Yay, but only so I can stand behind him, and if he betrays the country, to sideline him and then make an example of people who betrayed the country.
So my prediction, currently what I think is likely to happen is that it's on track for Reform to win at the moment, and then Nigel, I can just see him, his mannerisms. Nigel will, about all these problems, he will go, look, the numbers are just such that there's nothing we can do. We've just got to learn to sort of get along with it, and then he will soon after that be shuffled off because his refusal to do anything. Mohammed will then come in, and everyone will be very angry, and Mohammed will be the one who will just be trying to crush us completely, stamp the boot down, crush the British people. That's what he's going to be doing. Because the British people at this point will want him gone.
Ooh. Anyone agree with that?
Can I just... Well, I just wanted to say that we're also not... I'm not going to say that we have a great deal of power and influence, but we're also not without power and influence.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm joking. Go
on. So, if you do have concerns... you do have you want to if you've got people in that who might be considering voting reform, then encourage them to vote reform, and then also encourage them to mention certain things at meetings. Do you have certain issues with, for example, halal? Okay, well, then
Nigel has made that clear. The numbers are such that we can't possibly alienate them.
I wasn't asking his opinion on that. I'm telling him mine. You see what I'm saying?
Your opinion. Nigel says your opinion can go fuck yourself.
Let him finish.
But if enough But if enough people
They don't care.
mention it, but they
don't
do
care.
to some extent.
They really don't.
I think that there is an element. So, for example, I will give the example of the stuff that's going on with Visa and MasterCard. Yeah, no, sure. Overall, maybe nothing will come out of it. But, if enough people can get to, it's like Asmund says, right? If enough people can get together, you can
I'd rather that energy be spent on something else. Like I'm just a nobody. I can't win this fight by myself. I can't start this fight by myself. I hope someone comes along who can, though.
Yeah. And so I have a similar perspective, and I think that there is a good chance that the Reform will be able to at least start the fight, if not finish it. And I hope that they are able to do well, because again, ultimately, I want to have a country at the turn of the next decade. I want to be able to have a country left. I'd rather it not erupt into all sorts of shenanigans. But at the same time, I'm also not stupid enough to think that it's off the table. And I think that people in Reform know that. I think the only people that don't seem to know that it's the case is probably actually conservatives, like, unironically. But anyway, yeah, we were trying to wrap up.
No, it's fine.
I've made my point.
Lib Dems are probably the least.
I think Lib Dems have got more of an idea than conservatives do.
I don't know. They tend to be in very homogenous areas where they don't have these problems.
Oh, I know. I live near a few of them.
Well,
yeah.
There you go.
What do you think, Karen? Have you changed your mind on anything? Have you?
I am more on the Zionist camp than I have ever been. No, I mean, as I say, I agree largely with the articles. He is a massive asset to Reform. Absolutely everyone who wants Reform to fail treats him as an enemy. And
he's a joke.
That's because he's useful, very useful.
Can you do polls on this channel?
I can, but I'm not going to do it now.
That's a bit late, actually.
Yeah.
We could do a poll on. We could actually do that actually at some point if we have a thing like this. Put a poll on the Discord and see if anybody. See if anyone changed their mind or anything like that. It'd be really cool.
I will. Well, what other people thought about it. Or me? If I do it, I'll do it tomorrow.
I don't know how to do it.
But yeah, pretty much every councillor I know though is a big fan of Zia. I know some actually who they were very disappointed to hear he's leaving, and then when they heard the news he's coming back, they were literally punching the air. So he's quite clearly popular.
He's not.
Let me address why people don't like him in head office.
I know someone who likes Mohammed, therefore he's popular. Nonsense.
It's more than one person. And they tell me it's
two.
Wasn't there
two? Wow.
I should shut up.
But I do know people in the head office when he was chairman don't like his managerial style, but as the article says, so what? He's succeeded.
He hasn't.
You don't get to pushing 30 odd in the polls above every other party.
You do when every other party is so unbelievable.
So where's UKIP? Where's Homeland? Where are the 14 other right-wing alternative parties?
Because the protest vote just went to Brexit Party. Brexit Party was always way out ahead of all the others as like alternative votes.
Funny right? That back then, well, that was a protest vote, I will agree, because of a single issue. What's the single issue this time around? Immigration. Great. Now they're expanding off it as well.
I will give that if Reform does fall through, it will be they will not last another election.
No,
that is true.
Fix idea of like you can take them over after they fail. Nonsense. They're finished completely and heads on spikes. Like,
as opposed to Rupert Lowe wanting to maybe I joined the Tory party. If only I got rid of 80% of the Tory MPs. Yeah, okay, well, okay, totally different.
It's just not going to happen. I don't know. Whoever came up with the plan to get Lowe into the Tory party and take it over is off their rocker. That was just stupid from the start.
Well,
Look, two
Well,
birds with one
probably
stone.
not off their rocker, probably a CCHQ plant.
Look,
Well, maybe.
I mean, it's not necessarily
if we get if we get reform to, like, fix the country, and we purge the conservative parties of the. Oh, this is great. Tell me more.
it's not happening, man.
This is great. Look, I've decided. I've decided
Reform,
just now. I've decided I'm going to be optimistic. I have decided that I'm going to be naively. I'm going to decide to be. Was it optimistic and wrong, then cynical and right? I've decided that right now.
Sarah, you should join Reform and get involved with helping out in the canvassing.
Don't, please
stuff
don't.
like that.
Hey, look, I might purge half of my local, but yeah, that's fine.
So
just do it.
So the fact that Reform
in Minecraft,
the fact that Reform are taking on dozens
legally
of Tories,
speaking, not legally speaking. Sorry, what's the other one? Politically speaking.
Yes, let Tharium speak.
Sorry.
the fact that Reform are taking on dozens of Tories makes you think they're purging them.
Technically, I was.
They're not really, are they? Not really, are they?
So was
yeah,
I was
they're saving them.
I was supposed to Gavin Williamson. What's that about? What's that about certain groups of people committing more crimes despite making a small amount of population? What's that? What's that again? There's something about proportionality. Anyway, I should shut up. I want to go.
Yeah,
and have breakfast.
thank you, Rupert Lowe, for pushing for all that information and getting that revealed.
I think you've missed his point on proportionality. Anyway, with that, Vic wants to go and have breakfast because he's in Australia, and I want to go to bed. Thank you all very much, especially to Tharium for being the counter. I nearly said counterfactual, but that's not what I mean. Counter argument to the stream. So thank you very much for coming on.
Mohammed will betray you all.
Right, cool. Thank you, Cero, for coming on and being the neutral voice, along with obviously Vic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's all right. And Vic, you can say thank you too, but I know you're tired. Right.
No, it's fine though. I'm more awake. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. We're ending now. So if you enjoyed the stream, please do subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. It really helps us get up